Watching News at Prime, let's bring you this conversation now. Sources within the Democratic Alliance say leader John Steenhuisen is expected to pull out of the party's leadership race ahead of the elective conference that's to take place in April this year. He was recently cleared of allegations that he'd abused a party credit card following an internal investigation. Steenhuisen is due to hold a briefing of quote-unquote national importance in Durban tomorrow. Let's speak now to former DA leader Tony Leon. Thank you for joining us, Tony. Good to have you here.
Yeah, nice to be with you. Well, your Freudian slip. I'm not available to go back and be the leader. Just let me,
I knew you would do that. I knew you would do that.
To my tiny claque of fans and supporters, I'm not standing.
Please excuse my Freudian slip there. Okay, let's start this conversation with what the leader of the DA says, and that is to avoid speculation. I guess this is before he speaks tomorrow. But let me allow you the space to tell us what you think is going on.
Well, there's been an enormous amount of media speculation. Some of it obviously, leaks from inside the party. I have to say this is not abnormal. It's not sinister. It always happens when there's an elective conference, and I know that from my own experience from many years ago when I led the party. So I think a lot of it's been intensified because of all the controversies around the resignation of Dion George, who said some, I thought, very unfortunate things, but he did make a number of allegations. But he also made a point about the politics of the moment, and he said the DA's voice has been muzzled inside the GNU. And obviously, as the DA goes into an elective congress, it's going to have to consider that, its positioning, its purpose, its role, and how to play it best. And whether or not there's a change of leadership, and I guess John Steenhuisen will clarify that tomorrow as far as his own intentions, there might be a contest anyway, whether he stands back, if he stands again. There are a lot of people, I'm sure, who have a view on leadership. But I think the more material issue is not just the personality. It's always important, the personality, but the purpose. Because leadership issues are never just about the personality. That's always what attracts the headline and the attention and the interest.
Yeah.
It's also about a party's purpose. And I think the DA, having historically, for the first time in its existence, and I led it for many years, many years ago, now sits in the center of the government of South Africa. And that's a brand new role, or a relatively new role. And it's going to require some positioning or repositioning to get that right, and also have a view to the next general election, which is in 2000. Well, it's not, it's later this year. Give the background noise.
Yeah. All right. Let's try and do this, Tony, because I appreciate on the one hand that as a former leader, I would want to think that yours is to preserve the image of the party. But I have to press you on this. I want to quote directly from Mr. Steenhuisen's tweet. And he says, tomorrow, 10 a.m., I will make an announcement of national importance. Until you see me outlining the full set of facts tomorrow, avoid speculation. Very quick response from you. Is this about himself, or is this about the party and or GNU?
Look, I think it's probably both. I suspect he's not going to make any radical announcements about the party's position in the GNU, because the leader of the DA, whatever his other powers, does not have the power to either pull the party further into the GNU or remove it altogether. That lies, it's got a different decision-making process, and the leader doesn't have unilateral powers to deal with that. So I don't think it's going to be that. I suspect it is about the leadership, because the nominations close in a few weeks' time at the end of the month, and I think he'll make his position clear. I also think that he's going to take South Africa into his confidence, as he should, because one way or another, that's going to have a very big role. If he stands again, he's going to face, I think, a lot of questions. If he doesn't stand again, the party is going to face a lot of questions. So either way, it's going to be a big moment. But I do want to say, whatever his announcement is and whatever he decides to do, that I know that John gets a lot of stick, and that's what happens in any high-profile political life. But he's also done, some things that no previous leader, including me, did. He led a party into the government of national unity. That was a first. He helped consolidate the party after the 2019 general election, which was a very big setback for the party. And, he's had a lot on his plate or on his fork. I mean, he's now the Minister of Agriculture, so maybe a fork is a better analogy to use. Yeah. And I think it's been a big set of challenges. So really, if he does decide to stand down as leader, I think he can take quite a lot of credit, and I wish him well. And, but I'm much more interested, beside whatever affinities and affiliations I have to personalities in the party, in how the party is going to position itself on the eve of the local elections and for the next few years as we watch an unfolding situation where the ANC is in free fall. And you just saw those very angry residents that you screened with the water situation in Joburg being what it is. And I think people are expecting an alternative to develop that can really challenge, not just for power, but change the projection of this country and its cities. And if the party chooses a new leader at its April Congress, I just give you the form book here. I was at the races on Saturday at the Met in Cape Town, so form is very important.
Yeah.
With every change of leader in the DA, including the change from me to Helen Zille in 2007, in the next immediate election, the party has done better at the polls. That is almost an invariable result, because when you change leaders, it suggests that you're refreshing, you're reinvigorating. Think when Cyril Ramaphosa took over from Jacob Zuma, what a surge that led to the ANC's poll position. Okay. So I think in the short term, if there's a leadership change in the DA, it could be an electoral win. In the longer term, they've got to work out their positioning and see how to be in government, but also not lose their critical edge.
If speculation is anything to go by, Tony Leon, I was reading News 24 on this same story, and the suggestion seems to be that there is a lot of horse trading going on behind the scenes, even in this late hour before he makes that important announcement. And one of those is the following, that if he is to pull out of the race, he has to remain a government minister. At least that's the deal that must be on the table before he can announce that he is indeed letting go of the leadership of the DA. Do you believe that that could be one of the things that he demands? Let's remember that some people have suggested that John Steenhuisen relies heavily on this government salary, given what has been said about his alleged abuse of the party's credit card.
Well, look, I don't want to go into all that personal detail, and I have no first-hand knowledge of it, so it's all hearsay to me, and I really don't know the merits and demerits of any of those allegations, and I haven't interrogated them. And I'm not just being loyally about it, but I'll tell you something else I'm not, Paulie. I'm not a Boy Scout. So when you say that there's horse trading, well, I'm not surprised. There always is in any political movement that's got more than 5 or 6 members. Politics is about power and positions, in the general sense. And so I would imagine there have been a lot of discussions. Quite what they've led to and who said what to whom, I have absolutely no idea. And, I think the cabinet ministers must be retained or disposed of on their merits. I mean, that's the only test. And if we applied that across the board, across all parties in South Africa, you might have more effective governance. Now, I think, John, I know he's getting a lot of stick right now for this foot and mouth disease, and that's an institutional problem with a long history, and I'm no expert on agriculture. I think he's a competent guy. And
although the farmers are very angry with him,
they are angry with him
to say he's not handling this very well.
Yeah, well, look, as I said, mea culpa, I know very little about agriculture, and I'm not a farmer, so I've really got no right to speak about it. But I'm talking on the overall, in the general position. Yeah. But look, the leader of the party, whoever it is, whether he retains leadership, he makes way for someone else. has the right, under the statement of intent, to go to the president, the appointing authority, Cyril Ramaphosa, and say, I'd like this person to be removed, I'd like this person to be replaced. And I imagine, you know, he or she, whoever the leader is, if it's a new leader, will try and create a DA component consisting of the most talented people they've got, and that's got to be the consideration. And I have no knowledge of any backroom deals that have been struck in this regard, so I can't comment.
Yeah. Finally, Tony.
Forgive the background noise. We've got to.
No, totally understand. At least we're able to make sense of what you're saying. Finally, and quickly if you can, Jordan Hill-Lewis. Again, there is quite a bit of writing around him. On the one hand, he appears to be the person that will likely lead the DA if John goes. However, there is reticence on his part, again, if speculation is to be believed here, and that is that he wants overwhelming support if he is to take on this leadership mantle. Do you think that he is ready to do this?
Well, look, I've known Jordan really since he was a schoolboy, and I rate his political talents, his actual human talents very highly. I think he's a remarkable individual, and I'm sure he would be a very effective leader of this party, in fact, of movements not just confined to the political arena, because he has an unusual and I think very appropriate skill set. But, you know, every leader's got to go and earn his support. So it's not, even if it's a coronation, you've got to go and prove to people that you're worthy of the leadership mantle that you get, whether you, and if you get elected, you do it through an election. If you get it unanimously, you have to work every day to say that the faith put in me as leader was done, has been reciprocated. And you know, this is not a theoretical thing, because for 13 years I led the party, or the DP, and then the DA for 7 years. And every leader's got his own or her own stamp, and they bring their own set of talents. And if, in fact, Jordan is the next leader of the DA, I think he's got the wind behind his back to be a very successful one.
Tony Leon, thank you very much, as always, for your time and analysis of what could possibly be going on in the Democratic Alliance's leadership halls right now. We are going to have to wait and hear what Mr. Steenhuisen has to say at about, I think, 10 tomorrow, if what he has told us here is anything to go by.